Okay, so our next panel is presented by the Association for Electronic Music, discussing a very important subject that affects us all, which is getting paid when we get played. So to run this is Mark Lawrence from the AEMF.
Or something like that.
AFEM. Thank you.
Cheers, Pete. Hi, everybody. Maybe if I could just spend as short a time as possible describing what the Association for Electronic Music is. We're a global trade body representing the entire ecosystem of electronic music. We have members from Brazil to Hong Kong to Scandinavia to South Africa, and everybody from managers to festivals to labels. It's incredibly important to me and the entire board of advisors that we are thoroughly diverse in how we're made up. And coming to IMS Asia, already in these few hours, I think our route of making sure that we have regional representation and a really rich kind of tapestry of members has been proven correct, because I think this event has been incredible. And getting the perspectives from everybody that's been in panels and that I've met so far outside has reinforced that completely. And what we're going to talk about, hopefully in a kind of gentle way today, is quite a difficult topic, I think, sometimes for people to understand immediately, because sometimes people, particularly in electronic music, don't understand that there's a problem that we need to solve. So what I'm going to do first is just ask a few questions of the audience, just so I kind of know who's out there. So hands up who's a label. Okay. Hands up who's a DJ. Hands up who's a recording artist. Hands up who's a club owner or promoter. Oh, what have I got left? Festival. Okay, so everybody's involved in this, and let's just have a think about. I'm going to set up the problem that we're trying to solve. So as a DJ, put your hands up again. Who's a DJ? Okay, so let's say you play a 4-hour set tonight, and then someone else gets paid. How would you feel about that? I don't think you'd let that happen twice. So for about 25 years now, every other genre of music has been getting electronic music's money, about $160 million last year. And that money is the money that clubs and festivals pay to companies called performing rights organisations. And those performing rights organisations collect the money from clubs and festivals and pay it to their members. And they pay it to their members for the rights in their songs. Now, what should happen is every piece of music that's played in every club and every festival should get a little piece of a royalty paid across to the artists that made the record and to the songwriters that wrote the song. And that's pretty much what doesn't happen. So, if you think about all the kind of amazing technology there is in the world today and the ability to identify set lists, what actually happens is collection societies around the world, with one exception who I'll introduce soon, pretty much just take a radio playlist and say, let's pay the top 40, let's pay the top 10, let's pay something else other than the music that's played. And I think for those of you who are recording artists and labels, you'll see ever dwindling income from traditional sources. And there is a huge amount of money at stake from this source. So I guess hopefully that kind of sets up the problem, which is that across the world today in electronic music, pop music's getting the money. And that's the problem that we need to solve. And that's what Get Played, Get Paid is all about. So let me just kind of move on and introduce everybody. This is Frank from APRA, who is their Deputy Director of Writer Services. Richie, I'm guessing everybody knows Richie. Hi, and we've got Wayne from Zook. And we've got Hideki from Pioneer. And finally, Ralph from Mobley. We all got the memo about the T-shirt colour. Frank didn't. Richie, if I could kind of turn to you first and ask a few questions. I mean, you've kind of played every role in the music industry, but at a time when many underground DJs would have been keeping their set lists private, you opted to make yours public through technology and through sharing. Can you just kind of tell us about how you arrived at that decision?
Yeah, we started a kind of our own little programming thing about 4 or 5 years ago, originally called Twitter DJ. It was a very simple and altruistic idea to allow my fans to know what I was playing in real time. So basically, as I'm playing on my setup with Tractor, each time I play a record for more than 30 seconds, it actually gets tweeted out. So really, the idea was about being transparent. because over the last 10 or 15 years, being involved with Traktor and Final Scratch and Beatport, I was very much a part of helping with technology spread our music around the world. You know, before things like Beatport, you had to go to your record store. So all these little things allowed people to get in touch with our music, electronic music, easier, and that spread. You could see the scene expand. But one thing for me was, well, now distribution and the music was available for the people, but even the clubbers didn't actually know what was being played. You know, we came from a culture of DJs hiding the white label and not telling people. And that was great in the very early days when it was a very small, insular kind of club society. But as the scene exploded, we got to a point where if we wanted to see more and more people get into the music, to have more people producing, to have more people, in the end, paid for what was being played, we had to start being more transparent and letting people know what song they were listening to, and hopefully, in my opinion, in real time. So that was really the beginning of it, transparency of information. And I think why we're sitting up here now is transparency of information for people to actually get what they deserve, so that, again, the money goes to the people creating the songs, so that the producer sitting in their bedroom in, you know, wherever, Alaska, can find out where their music is being played and actually get some of that money so they continue to make music and make it their livelihood.
And I'm guessing you're a member of a performing rights organization, presumably it's SOCAN?
Yeah, SOCAN, yeah.
And, you know, given you must be playing thousands of songs a year, and some of them will be yours and some of them will feature on your kind of label roster, do you sometimes just have to kind of grit your teeth and stare at a royalty check that doesn't feature those from all those performances?
Yeah, you know, I think for a long time, I just kind of gave up that was the way it was. You know, yeah. The way that performing rights societies used to work is, like you said, they would take a sample of what was being played on the radio, and they made the assumption that, well, that was probably the same music being played in clubs or festivals. The way to give more information was to write down, you know, lists of what you were playing after you did your performance at a club or a festival, but all this was very tedious. And as you know, I'm a big fan of using technology to allow things to progress our scene, whether creatively or on a business level. And that was part of the decision to do, you know, to do Radar, to do Twitter DJ. Let's put the information out there. Let's start showing the fans and the societies that we can allow people to see what's being played in clubs in real time. And if you can show people that that's possible, then connecting those real-time flows of information to the correct societies around the world is only a step away.
Fantastic. Ralph, I wonder if I could ask you for your perspective, because, you know, you run a fantastically successful 10-year-old label, you know, very underground, but and highly regarded, and you'll be feeling the same issue, because as a label boss, you know, all of the music that's been played, and when Anya Schneider is going around the world on gigs, she's undoubtedly playing Mobley repertoire, and it's not coming back to you. What's your feelings, thoughts, and perspectives?
So, yeah, we started the label 10 years ago, and I still remember how it feels to sell 6,000 copies on vinyl. So that's probably nothing compared to what Plus 8 did in the 90s, but that was a decent revenue at that time for us, and I was happy and proud to pay a royalty check to our artists. So then, from minute one, since we started, we were facing the drastic changes in the music industry, the digital revolution, and this did a great job for us. So we gained a lot of popularity. We have a lot of followers on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, everywhere. Our artists playing all around the world. Our music is played every weekend in clubs all around the world. Only we don't really make relevant money with our music sales. So actually we have a track in the top 10 deep house charts on Beatport. Maya Jane Coles on number 9 right now. It probably makes us 500 pounds, I guess, for the label. So there is an urgent need to change the revenue stream, the distribution of the money that is collected in clubs. And yeah, it's just like helps us to be creative again and to keep alive as a label, to keep the artists also motivated and keep them being able to produce music on a high quality level. And this is why I think it's very important to use new technologies. They're existing since a long time. Start collect the money that is already collected in clubs worldwide through the collecting societies to distribute that money to the artists that are that's music is played in the clubs.
And I think this is a really important point from a label perspective, or the dreaded phrase, a content owner's perspective, because what we're really saying here is that as sales revenue falls, and interestingly at the same point musical output has grown, so there are more releases every week. I think we're up to 26,000 a week on Beatport now. Someone correct me, it's probably like a ticker. It's going up and up and up every week. So, but yet at the same time, there's probably not 26,000 different tracks being played in clubs. There will definitely be favorited and followed tracks that have been played. How different would your business be and the decisions that you make if you knew that you were going to get royalties come back for songs that got a lot of plays at nightclubs? So the Maya Jane Coles track that's number 9, if you got, even if it was a penny for every play around the world in 100,000 nightclubs, let's imagine that was hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds.
So I wouldn't buy a new car or a new house. I would invest that money in the artists, in the label. So there's also like a huge or a big economical infrastructure behind a label or behind an artist. And since years, the independent music scene is working on a low budget level. Yeah, everything. It needs to be very cheap. Graphic designers don't get paid well. I don't know, visual artists and video and all this stuff. This is like not really existing on a high quality level anymore. And this is like my motivation. I think so we need that money to also get a new dynamic in this industry and in this global movement we are facing right now. And it's not only the artists, not only the clubs, and not only the label managers. It's also like all the others working in the creative environment around music.
So it kind of sounds like higher quality, a bit more risk-taking, maybe taking longer on tracks, just getting the art right. Is that something maybe you'd echo, Rich?
Well, if an artist can't get paid by records alone anymore, then we have to find other revenue sources so that artist feels financially stable to go into the studio and work for 3 months on an album and doesn't just feel like they have to go in just over the weekend and make 1 or 2 tracks to put out to make money to cover rent, Yeah. So it's, and these technologies, like Radar, like Twitter DJ, like Kuvo, technologies that we can put in place now to allow the PROs to know what's being played, but also to let the fans know what's being played in real time, and also to let the labels know what's being played, also allows us to do better business. If Mobley or Minus knows that one track is blowing up in Singapore this weekend, because when we wake up in the morning, we can see that 50 DJs played it overnight, and then we can actually react to that, on a business level, and even the artists can perhaps get inspired or energized and react to that in real time on a creative level. Hey, maybe we should do a remix of this song. Maybe we should see if we can get a booking for that DJ in that area. So all these things connect together to create a better creative and economical situation for labels. And it's technology that actually got us, in a way, into this pickle or this situation because, our scene is bigger than ever before. And part of that is because, in my belief, of digital distribution, of internet, of SoundCloud, and all these things. So we have more people going out listening, dancing, consuming the music, but we actually have lower income levels. So it's been a big step forward for the whole scene. You know, that's probably why we're sitting here with IMS, you know, Southeast Asia. But now we have to make, you know, up for the 1 or 2 steps backwards that we've made in the business model. And that's what we need to crack so that we can have professional run labels, that we can pay the artists, that we can pay the graphic designers, that we can do a video if one of the songs is, you know, gonna hit hard. But that isn't possible on record sales alone anymore.
Cool. So I'm going to ask Wayne from Zouk a really daft question first, which is, how important is music to your business?
100% important. I mean, it is. It's club business. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have to ask the second dumb question, which is, do you pay for that music by paying Compass in Singapore?
All right, deep breath. Thankfully, we do pay. Yeah.
I'm glad.
I'll be thrown off this panel.
So you know, when we were catching up about the panel beforehand, and you started to kind of get to understand the issue, were you surprised that once you've paid over that money, that no one knows where it, well, someone knows where it goes next, but it doesn't go to the artist that you're featuring and the music that you're playing all the time at the club?
Yeah. I mean, in Singapore, we pay, for Zouk, we do an annual fee to the Composers and Artists Association. It's called Compass. So we do an annual fee to them that covers both music that's paid in the club, as well as for Zouk Out Festival. Yeah, we pay that annually. I think it's important that we do pay, but I think the challenge, is to find out, like you mentioned earlier, where does this money go? Yeah, because we pay to this organization, Compass, but upon research, I found out that essentially if the artist wants to get paid out by Compass, they need to register as a member. Yeah. But the big question is, how many of these DJs, producers out there, especially in Asia itself, have registered? I mean, I don't think there's much of a fair bit, because we are a very, very new market in Asia. I mean, a lot of young budding talents, like DJs and producers coming up, but I think a lot of them, they have the creative talent to make the music, but they just don't know the business end of things. So a lot of them do not know, like, which organization to sign up for, how do I get paid for a track that's being played, and stuff like that. And essentially, I think that's not really healthy for them. Yeah, definitely, because I mean, like, you know, they need guidance. Essentially, I think education is the key for a lot of these young talents and producers within Asia, and maybe the world as well, to find out how do I get paid and who do I sign up with.
I think it's an interesting show of hands moment for the audience again. So just kind of asking the questions: how many people in the audience make music, either recording artists or songwriters? Hands up, and then put your hands down. No, just keep them up for a minute. I haven't finished the question. And how many are a member of a collection society or performing rights organisation? So I'm going to go. That's kind of less than a quarter. So at that point, this is a really important point for this conference in particular, let alone any other conference, because if I was to create one footnote to IMS Asia so far, it's develop the local artist, the local talent, you know, make sure that you don't kind of impose a global talent onto young budding talent that's coming out of Singapore or Thailand or Malaysia. You know, that's really been a strong theme for me. And at the moment, if only 25% of the artists and songwriters are members of societies, then you're definitely not going to get paid by those societies when your music is played. So we're gonna move along to Pioneer now, who as an association, what we do is we look at solutions to problems across the world in various different parts of the ecosystem, be it health issues or production safety, or in this case, the flow of royalties. And we'll be endorsing various different partners and technology providers to kind of help us on our fight, if you like. And so Pioneer, we were proud to endorse the Kuvo technology at the Amsterdam dance event. Could you just give us a little bit of insight into Kuvo and any new developments since ADE?
Yes, basically Kuvo is a kind of platform that DJs and clubbers and club can interact with each other. So DJ can register for Kuvo and then promote himself, and also the club can do the same. And when the club has a Kuvo box inside, when the DJ plays, they'll be able to kind of show what he's playing. This playlist will automatically come up on the Kuvo website and also the application, so the fan will be able to know wherever he is, whenever he is, be able to know what kind of track he played. For example, if I'm in Japan, I'll be able to know what Richie played in Germany or in UK or wherever. So it doesn't. It's a kind of demand that people wants to know what tracks being played, and he'll be able to know immediately, and it's really kind of a simple solution. And also, Club will be able to kind of promote to the global audience. So basically, Kuvo is a kind of platform that can be, it's specific for the DJ and the club industry. So, and then at the same time, we'll be able to kind of tied up with the PRO people, so that we'll be able to utilize those kind of track information to contribute to the community to the PRO. So that's what Kuvo is all about.
And so just to sort of summarize that, the challenge that we as an industry face in electronic music, getting the royalties paid fairly from festivals and nightclubs around the world, is basically making sure that we give, or enable to give, all those performing rights organisations set lists. So we need to tell everybody what's been played, otherwise we haven't got a chance of getting paid. At the same time, we need to make sure that everybody involved in making music and recording tracks and writing tracks has joined one of those societies, because if you're not a member, you can't get any money. And what Kuvo effectively does is provide mass set list data free of charge to all those performing rights organisations. My challenge now is to work with all of those organisations to say, can you change the way you do it from a way where you pay, the top 20 or use Kiss FM as an analogy, or, you kind of use anything other than the music that's actually being played, and can you pay the right people? So, and I kind of, I know it sounds a bit like I'm bashing the performing rights organisations. I should probably point out I worked for one for 10 years, so I know it's quite a hard job. But at the same time, I think now we have the technology, now we have the insight, now we have the will, and now that it's a global issue being tackled globally, I think it makes it harder to avoid. So it's kind of good that I can now turn around to an Australian performing rights organisation and Frank, and kind of say, well done for being the first society to pick up the baton and run with this. Could you just tell us kind of what you're doing and why you're doing it?
It is all about paying the artists correctly, and I think that the most important point that's already been raised but needs to be said over and over again is that we're talking about a pool of money that is already paid. It's already sitting there, and it's about effectively getting it out to the right people. And I think with the technology we're talking about, I describe it as direct metadata extraction. That's the Kuvo solution.
It sounds painful.
DME. And then you've got the music recognition technology, which is, the Shazamming, and it's a much more complicated process. But with the technologies, as we dig deeper and get more and more metadata, what we're able to do is actually serve the long tail. It's the underground labels like Ralph. It's serving more underground artists. And as we've already talked about, as record sales drop, making sure effective distribution of income that should be going out to those people does go out to those people. So that's always been my baby. That's what's driving me. And it's been fantastic working with an organisation like Pioneer DJ, who's been really receptive. We went to them with this concept and had no idea about Kuvo when we first came up with this concept of directly drawing metadata from digital DJing. And it seems quite obvious, but the Kuvo device was evolved quite quickly over 18 months when we did connect with Pioneer DJ, and now offers what we think is close to a solution to solving some of these problems. The data is being offered to all PROs free of charge, which is an important point. And I think there's a lot of information that needs to get out there to dispel a lot of myths that are starting to emerge. I think that traditionally disruptive technologies have always created fear in people, and what we need to do is educate people with the facts. And so hopefully we can get some of those facts out today.
And what's the response been in Australia since you started the kind of the Kuvo journey, and you know, how have the clubs responded?
Positively. So after signing the first deal with Pioneer DJ about 6 weeks ago, we have contacted quite a number of clubs, and I can honestly say every single one of them has been open. They either want to know what it is, and in most cases have said, bring it along. Yep, fine, let's give it a go. So our time frame is really over the next few months to get it into as many Australian venues as possible, and then start seeing what metadata we are getting extracted from the CDJs, and then to start, you know, working again with, you know, Pioneer DJ to things that might still need to be developed with the technology. We don't expect it's going to be perfect up front, but, you know, we're right at the starting point right now, and we've got a long journey ahead. But the fact that, you know, we're talking about this now and we've recognised this as an issue, this is what needs to happen to get us to the next stage of evolution with paying artists and more of the right artists.
And just finally, when do you think you'll make the first payment based on the data?
I've set up a goal for the 1st of July, but, you know, that's always subject to, you know, the trial and how we go. But if we can get across the line by the 1st of July next year, I think that's going to be a massive achievement, and that's what we're going for. But, you know, I should also add that apart from the direct metadata extraction, we've also been using music recognition for over 2 years. So as a society, a collecting society out there in clubland, we're one of the only ones actually doing music recognition in nightclubs throughout the country. We want Kuvo to add to that. We just think as many sources of information to get down and drill down further and further, because, as I say, the more we drill down, the more that long tail gets paid.
So I'm just going to ask one final question of Pioneer, and then we'll go out to questions to the floor. What's coming next? Who, you know, are you going to be working with other technology providers? How is Kuvo going to develop?
Yeah, we're working with radar team right now, and our engineers is talking with the radar technology team how we can implement radar information inside Kuvo. Currently, the Kuvox only communicate with CDJ and DJML product, but you know, many people use other kind of softwares and other technologies. So we're wondering how we can implement those kind of stuff, and the radar will be the first other technology people that we're talking, and probably I'm hoping we can introduce that within a month or so, or we were targeting this year, but we're having technical difficulty, but hopefully if we can do it in the month, it will be really nice.
Fantastic. So you're going to keep developing the platform for use with other DJ tools. Brilliant. So I guess, look, I think we've probably said everything we can say in terms of setting the challenge up. Maybe let's go out for some questions to the audience, because I think our experience of talking about this is it's complicated, some of it's detailed, and we really want to hear your questions and what you've got to say about everything. Hands up.
How are record labels, what are your thoughts on digital streaming for the casual consumers space? Like, is it a viable stream of income? What do you feel?
Yeah.
It's slightly off topic, but
I'll
turn over to Ralph for a quick answer on that one.
Yeah, so I was very critical about like Spotify and other streaming services a few years ago, but I changed my mind. I must say we make significant revenue with streaming, like YouTube and Spotify, and this is a little piece of the cake that helps. But to be honest, at the same time, digital sales or digital revenues also drop down. So it's like balancing out our sales numbers. But in a way, it also relates to this topic, because so we are talking about club performing right fees, but there are also neighboring right fees. And in a way, we have the same problem, or we're facing the same challenges there. There's SoundCloud and Mixcloud, and there are like a lot of radio stations, digital radios out there, and there's fingerprinting software existing, and so in a perfect world, in a few years, we maybe have like an institution or like something that's like standing above all collecting societies. We which is yeah, distributing or like collecting this information from all streams, from clubs, and in real time, and then yeah, spreading this metadata to the collecting societies, and then making a good revenue for the artists. So that's what I'm hoping for.
And I think what your question is touching on is what I would call get played, get paid phase 2, which is when there are DJ mixes online on SoundCloud and other sites. At the moment, a lot of those mixes go unpaid in terms of generating royalties. So the technology that you can use in club to identify the music that's played, we could turn to the net and potentially start going down that route. And we've got some early discussions on that already. There was a couple of other questions, I think. Hello.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for all your efforts in this stuff. It's definitely worthwhile. Have you gone to or had any luck getting any transparency out of the PROs in terms of cash that's sitting there that's gone undistributed?
I mean, broadly speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, a lot of the money that's collected for club plays all tends to get paid out because they're collecting the performing right and paying it over the members that they've got, so there isn't really much held back. In fact, I think, so this is really about redistribution or inaccurate distributions rather than getting stuff sat in dark vaults underneath the stairs. What has been amazingly positive and encouraging for me is that 2 American societies are at the table talking to us. SOCAN in Canada are talking to us. Spain have reached out. Scandinavia have reached out. The UK has reached out. So what's happening, and it was a surprise to me, if I'm honest, is that as many societies have reached out to us after we announced all of this at Amsterdam as we reached out to. So I think everybody's starting to recognise the problem, and there's a will to do something about it. So that does kind of say that people don't want to keep paying the wrong people forever.
It's interesting because we tried to reach out prior to making the announcement at ADE, and after ADE we were approached by several PROs around the world for information. And I think it's certainly in the Australian interest to work with everyone, because if our artists are played on dance floors in Asia or in Canada, we need to make sure that they're doing what we're doing so that the money flows back to Australia and to our artists. So this is really a global issue, and we need to all be on the same page together, developing these technologies and working on solutions. It's not just going to work if APRA is sort of like doing it and no one else is.
I really hope that you become the role model for all collecting societies worldwide. But I also think that there's a chance for the collecting societies to get new members on board. Because if you offer this technology, or if you offer, or if you are able to pay out these royalties, then I'm sure every artist is motivated to join you.
It's a really important point, and we're in a really competitive global environment, so we're doing our best to keep our members happy and of course to attract new members all the time. So it works for us on both sides of the fence, so absolutely.
I think it's also educating our scene, because for the longest time, we were selling enough records and vinyl and CDs that we didn't really actually worry about this section very often, because we knew the infrastructure wasn't there to actually let people know what was being played in the club. So it's really, as we put these technologies in place, it's also, as we saw earlier, up to the labels and the artists to make sure they have signed up to their local PRO and they are registering every track that they're putting out there. Even if they're giving their friends some special remixes or whatever, all that stuff needs to be into the system. Because if we're building an infrastructure and a system to track it, it can't track something that it doesn't know about. So it's both sides of the equation need to come together on that.
Yeah, just to jump in, I think essentially, I think education reaches out to promoters and club owners as well, actually, especially in the Asia market. I think right now, I think it's quite widely known that Asia is, piracy is one of the biggest problems we have in this region. I think besides Japan, yeah, I think, I mean, they have a big CD buying population. I think most of Asia is still kind of we're still downloading our music illegally. Yeah. So I think to get that out of the way, I think education stems out to the club promoters as well as the festival promoters as well, because there's so much happening in Asia now, you know. Yeah, over the last 3 years, so much festivals, so many clubs have boomed. I think these club owners and festival owners, they've been so busy like getting alcohol licenses, you know, getting music licenses, stage clearance for safety. I think they tend to forget a very important element, which is music, you know, and paying the right fees for to the music makers, yeah, which is actually what the festival or the club's all about. Yep.
Well, also the festival owners, the club owners should be kind of gatekeepers and making sure that they have technologies in their club that help track this. They should be supporting and making sure that there's a Kuvo box in there. They should be supporting by putting wireless networks in there, so if people show up like me who are using Radar or Twitter DJ, they can connect to the wireless and make sure that information is going out. If that money goes out and goes to the next generation DJ or producer who's just in his bedroom again making one song, that DJ could be, you know, that producer could be the one who's going to be at your club in 2 years, filling that club, and being the next superstar DJ. So it all trickles down. It's such a huge business and ecosystem that we need to take care of each other. And this is really, it's a new phase in the business development of our scene.
We're growing up.
Yeah. I have a question. Seems like APRA is the most advanced collecting society in the world. Do you share those information with SACEM or other collecting society in another part of the world?
We're working with anyone that wants to talk to us, and we've reached out previously, and we've been in discussions, not specifically with SACEM, but you know, we are reaching out at different times as we can get the information out. Being part of the forum today is about spreading the word that we are doing this, and more than happy to share our knowledge with anyone to bring everyone up to speed with what we're doing.
I'm pretty aware of everything that's going on with the collection societies and who's picking everything up, but one thing I think that hasn't been covered is the countries other than Australia that are doing it right, like the Dutch, who are also proactive as well too. Is there any other countries that, you know, people should be aware of that are being proactive?
Yeah, and I described when I was at the Amsterdam dance event, we were lucky enough to have the CEO of the Dutch Society, Boomer Stemmer, on the panel. And I think it's important to note that they are kind of the grand aim of identifying music, but it's at festivals, not at clubs. So where they're kind of behind the pace now from where they were leading, because they use a piece of kit called DJ Monitor, but they use it for festivals and for the Amsterdam dance event. And now they're engaging with discussions, I think, with Pioneer about, is Kuvo the answer for clubs? So they were kind of, pardon the pun, the pioneers. They now need to kind of catch up with the technology again, which is great because they want to. And that is kind of it. You know, that SACEM have got some software. We're not too sure how well it performs. And Gamer, the German society, have also just taken the same software. So that's on my to-do list for next week, is to reach out to them. So I think what we're seeing is a kind of a world map where the colours are all changing to green as all the different countries engage with us or directly with Pioneer or with other technology providers to recognise that this kind of $160 million problem needs to be fixed. And, you know, I think in truth that the thing I'm most proud of about electronic music is our fierce independence. But the challenge of that fierce independence means that when you need to collectively respond to a global problem, there's not been a way to do it before. And I think thanks to events like IMS, and obviously now thanks to having an association to represent these issues, you know, we can now start to speak with this big collective voice. And, you know, I know that the performing rights organisations have kind of taken notice of that collective voice, now starting to kind of spread the word. So it's a really positive time, and I think it's a game changer for everybody. So I guess maybe just a signing off comment from everybody, and then and we'll close off. Ralph, would you like to say, kind of leave the audience with one thing?
Yeah, I want to point out that, so I'm very happy that there's an association like AFEM. It's the first time, I think, that yeah, we have an institution who's like really gathering all the important people from the industry, and that we are all moving in one direction. And this is like representing like all regions in the world. And this is like a the chance we have to, to change things right now. If it's like this initiative you're starting right now, if it's education, if it's innovation, the last 10 or 15 years, the music industry was only like running after new things, and they always needed like a long time to cope up with that. And I think now we have the chance maybe to be part of the innovation and to move things in the right direction.
Brilliant. Hideki, a closing comment from you.
Oh yes, originally Kubo was just planned to have a fun part, just discovering the music and discovering the DJ, discovering the club. But at the same time, we knew that we can contribute to another way, like providing the track information to PROs. So I'm really excited to working with them in the future. Brilliant.
Wayne.
Yeah, from a club owner's perspective, I mean, club operator and festival operator, I think it's good content generation as well. I mean, so many times, like we as music fans, you know, we're on the dance floor and this track comes on, you go like, what is this, you know? But you know, either the DJ console's too far, or you know, like Richie mentioned, the white labels, we used to hide them behind our backs, not letting people know what tracks they were. Yeah, but I think times have changed, and I think it's good content generation. I think being able to tell people what is being played right now, besides getting the payments out to the artists rightfully, I think it's good content for the dance floor punters, you know. And yeah, I mean, I would like to know what's being played personally as a dance music fan. So I think it's a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Richie.
I think it's just really about being transparent and sharing the information of the music that you love, that you're playing, whether you're a DJ, whether you're making a mixtape, whether you're a producer, putting the metadata in. The more information that we put out there, the more our scene can prosper and grow and continue to be independent.
Brilliant. And finally, Frank.
If you write music, become a member of a PRO if you're not already, and if they're not doing what you think is a good enough job with distribution, write to them, call them, encourage them to be, you know, exploring different avenues, and our doors are always open to talk to them. And also just be careful what you read about, you know, some of the misinformation with technology. Like I was saying, I think that, you know, we touched on the issue of piracy. But, you know, Kuvo and technologies like Kuvo were never devised to catch out pirates, even though we obviously don't condone piracy. It's all about getting artists paid if their music's played in nightclubs, and that's what we're all here for.
Fantastic. Listen, thank you everybody on stage, and thank you everybody out there for listening.